I was scheduled for a regular 20-week ultrasound when I was pregnant with Camryn, and went in and got a phone call the next day saying that there was a problem with her brain and that we needed to follow up and to have a higher level ultrasound, which we then went to the next day. And that's when we were told that she had hydrocephalus, fluid on the brain, and was missing a bone in her right arm. The plan of action then became close monitoring of her head size especially. I did have an amniocentesis because a couple of the diagnoses they were considering were not compatible with life. But we were kind of given everything from she may not make it to be born, she may not make it after birth, to she may never walk, talk, or see, or she may be okay. As soon as we found out there were problems, there was no doubt in my mind where she was going to go. At Cardinal Glennon, I had the privilege of training in graduate work there and then becoming employed there. So it's truly been a blessing to have had that relationship before and then to continue on now. Her prognosis after she was born, she did have an MRI. I guess she was 4 days old. And we knew they didn't like what they saw because they pulled us in to see the image itself. And there's been still not a true answer whether a part of her brain didn't develop or it was damaged when she was born. That's when we kind of got the news that she might not be able to see. And again, it continued to be, we don't know what she's gonna do. Anyone without hydrocephalus, your brain kind of distributes the cerebrospinal fluid on its own and your body absorbs it, and hers doesn't do that. And so a shunt was placed in her brain at 8 days old. Handing a small 8-day-old baby over to the doctors, I mean, it was rough. Our other 2 children are healthy, and so this was the first experience we've had with that.
Sitting in the NICU was difficult, watching all of the nurses and doctors poke and prod and look and talk, and as soon as you find out you have a child, you want to take care of them and you want to just make everything okay for them, and not being able to do anything for her was really tough. The doctors at Cardinal Glennon right away took me in, could see that I had no clue what was going on with all of the wires and everything that was happening with Camryn, and they right away made me feel better and just made me calm down a little bit, explain things so I could understand. And you know, they weren't just treating Camryn, they were treating us as a family, and they were treating Camryn like she was their family from the get-go. And so you just right away I had a trust level with them that has just grown since then. From the first doctor that I knew at Cardinal Glennon, Camryn was in her bed and all the wires were hooked up and nobody had held her yet. And then Mom finally got to come and see Camryn after being in the hospital. And he just threw the rule book out and said, "Mom's gonna hold this baby." And from that moment on, it was just these doctors, they care about us as a family.
They're all specialists, so they specialize in one part of her, but they don't look at her like that. They look at all of her and who she is and take that into account when they come up with any of their treatment plans. Those doctors, if we think something is wrong or have any concern, they don't ever blow it off or don't take us seriously. They know that we know her better, and if there's any concern at all, we know it's going to be heard and looked into, and I don't think you get that everywhere, so that is what I'm very, very appreciative of. Camryn's had 12 surgeries, actually just in her first 2.5 years of life. So unfortunately, she's not a stranger to that anxiety in those operating rooms at Cardinal Glennon. Camryn loves the people at Cardinal Glennon. She walks in the door and is smiling because everyone's smiling back at her. They know her, she knows them. We do kind of hold on to one physician who said to us right before we took her home, "Take her home and let Camryn be Camryn." And that's what we've done.
We're not 100% sure as to what's going to happen. There's some questions orthopedically as to what we would do with her arm and with her neck. But being her dad and having watched her grow up so far, I know that her prognosis is going to be whatever she wants to do. And nobody and no thing is going to get in her way of her being Camryn.